All right, guys, welcome. Today is Monday, November 11th, 2019. This is our Team Liberate call. I'm so excited to be back in action. I feel like I'm finally getting back into the groove here. I want to do some quick recognition before just double checking. Before I introduce our guest speaker. So Shannon Mendoza is our coach of the week. Let me share my screen. Shannon has been a coach for literally, I think, like 2.5 weeks, and she's just totally crushing it. Like, I'm so in awe of everything that she's doing. Not to mention, she has a teenager and 2 little kids, and she works full time. And she has like 0 excuses. She just totally crushed the new mentorship training. And as of right now, I haven't edited it yet, so it's still pretty lengthy, and she like flew through it, took all these notes. She's just like a sponge. She's wanting to learn all that she can. She's being super coachable. You can see she's already hit Success Club for this month. This is her first full month as a coach. And she signed up her husband today as her controlled business center. So she's being really coachable and just, she's running with it. And so I'm really, really, really proud of her. And so shout out to Shannon for being this week's coach of the week. We have 3 girls who have already hit Success Club this month. Christina at 8, Kelsey at 8, and Shannon, like I said, at 6, which is awesome. And it's only the 11th. We have so much time in the month. Although I will say from experience, you want to be hustling now, because come like November 5th or something, like there's no, especially with Thanksgiving being at the very end of the month, there's not going to really be like an end of the month crunch really, because people are going to be like in vacation mode. People are going to be traveling. People are going to be stuffing their faces. Nobody wants to think about starting like, a health and fitness routine. So definitely want to hustle now to lock it in if you can. And then myself at 4, Erin at 2, Randy at 2, Pam at 2, and Jessica at 2. So nice job, ladies. Okay, so I'm just going to stop share because then I want to focus. So our guest speaker tonight is Monica. Monica and I connected in, I think, the Boss Babes group. I think the mastermind group, I'm pretty sure. And I had spoken on her call a few months ago, I think in September. And so now Monica is coming to us. Let me share you her stuff. So you won't believe it. She is literally due like any day, right? Didn't you say you're 1 centimeter dilated?
Yeah, I'm scheduled to be induced next Thursday. So anytime between now and then would be great.
So she's quite busy. She literally truly has a lot going on. She's been a coach for 7.5 years, a 3-star diamond, an SC legend, meaning if you're new to Beachbody, so Success Club is when you are helping at least 3 people a month. Means you're hitting Success Club. And when you have hit Success Club consecutively for 24 or more months, it is a Success Club legend. So that is a true accomplishment. And she's a mom of 6. So will the baby make 6? Or the baby?
Yes.
Okay. So she's an almost mom of 6. No excuses. And she's going to talk to us about overcoming objections because, clearly she's been here for the long haul. She has a lot of experience, and I know she has a lot of wisdom to share with us. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Monica.
All right. I'm going to share my screen with y'all. I don't have a lot of notes for you guys because I'm really going to speak from the heart. I was trying to share just just my documents so y'all could see. And can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
And let me go ahead and preface this and say, if for some reason all of my children are miraculously asleep, I'm in Central Time Zone, so it's only 7:38 here. So if for some reason someone starts screaming or something happens, it's always bound to happen right when I get on a call. And I just sent my husband off to work because he works nights. So I apologize ahead of time if that happens. But yes, I'm so excited. Brooke did amazing and fired my team up. And so I'm so happy to return the favor and just kind of tell my story. Like she said, I've been a coach for 7.5 years, which means I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot. We've had a lot of obstacles. And so I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my story. And in that, I'm going to kind of talk about the obstacles that we faced just as a family and a business. Because if there's anything that I wished I would have known as a beginning coach, and even a couple years into it, is that there are going to be things thrown your way. You're going to face obstacles. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so we have a choice to decide how we're going to handle those obstacles, how we're going to handle those with our business. You're going to grow and change in seasons of life. I mean, in 7.5 years, I went from being a mom of 1 to now being a mom of 6, and working full-time as a teacher to now working at home full-time. And so you go through different seasons of life, and the business goes with you, and it has its peaks and valleys. And so a little bit about me. These are my boys. So I have 4 boys. Jaden is my 12-year-old. I have a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old. Noah is my 19-month-old. And then we have a daughter in heaven, and we are having our last and final child, which is a little girl, due within the next week and a half. And so we are crazy busy, and it hasn't always been this way. It's been a journey for sure for us to get here, but I wouldn't have changed it. And I love that Beachbody has gotten to be a part of our family. And so I started as a coach 7.5 years ago. I was a mom of 1. I was a high school English teacher. I coached high school volleyball and basketball. I was about 30 pounds overweight. I am originally from Kansas, but we moved to Texas about 11.5 years ago. And I just really struggled. I've always struggled with anxiety and depression. And I was in this weird place in my life. I couldn't lose the weight. I'm the girl that literally had tried anything and everything possible. Every pill, wrap, diet, shake. I did, if y'all are familiar with Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, there's a trainer that they use. His name's Jay Johnson. He has like boot camps outside, like literally like at the mall. You're doing bear crawls up a garage, like a parking garage. Basically did everything, the HCG drops, and nothing was working for me. And when my oldest was 3.5, he started playing baseball, and there was a mom, and she was talking about these challenge group things. And to be honest, y'all, we were strapped. I was a teacher. My husband was still going in school. I was working 3 jobs. We were living paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, I can't afford to, at the time, it was 1 program on DVDs with Shakeology. So it was $205 just for TurboFire and Shakeology. And I was like, that's like too much for us. And so I sold some stuff on eBay, and I was like, I'm ready to go all in. I wanted absolutely nothing to do with this business, nor did I really know what this business was. I just needed the discount, and I didn't want to pay wholesale for Shakeology. And so I started doing TurboFire in September of 2012 and lost about 15 pounds in the first 30 days. And of course, as a teacher, and I coach, which means I was at school from 6 o'clock in the morning until sometimes 10 o'clock at night, depending on if it was a game night. I had people asking what I was doing, or I was working out in my classroom, and a couple teacher friends would come join me. And so it just naturally started to evolve from there. Well, in January of 2013, we found out we were pregnant with this little dude right here. And it was a really rough pregnancy. It was high risk. They wanted me, a particular doctor that I had wanted me to terminate at like 11 weeks. It was crazy. And I had just really started dabbling my feet in coaching. I was still teaching. I was getting my master's because I decided to add that into my plate. And, going through this pregnancy up and down. But that summer, I went to my first summit. So here I was like 25 weeks pregnant. I'd never flown. I'm like your small town from Midwestern Kansas. Yes, I live in Dallas, but I had flown like maybe 3 times my entire life. So here I am flying by myself across the country to Las Vegas, which I'd never been to, 25 weeks pregnant, to go to this conference that I was told I shouldn't miss. And I was just blown away with what I walked into, the atmosphere, the environment, the people. I had this preconceived notion that I was going to walk into the event and see I don't know why I thought blonde, but that I was going to walk in and see all these blonde, super fit people and just be I don't belong here. And I wasn't. It was the most welcoming. And I was I'm never missing one of these things again. And the light bulb just kind of went off. And I really started to understand what this business was. Hearing Carl speak, who's our CEO, if you've never heard him speak, always fires me up. And I was sold. I was this is legit. But I still didn't really see the potential in leaving my job or wanting to stay at home. And Caleb was born early at 36 weeks. And what we didn't know is when he was born, At 2 weeks old, we found out he had a congenital heart defect, which basically means he had 3 holes in his heart. And they didn't find it in utero. We had no idea. And it was one of those things where they said, oh, we're going to hope and pray that it just closes on its own. Sometimes these things just go away. But he was born in September. And as we all know, October, November, December, January are all like RSV and flu season and all of those things. And so when he was 6 weeks old, he got hit with just a cold, which for a normal kiddo is, still pretty rough and hard on us as moms. But for a heart kid, it's like getting hit with a Mack truck. And so it put him in the pediatric ICU from the time he was 6 weeks old off and on until he was about 3 months old. I think we had a 5-day break in there. And so when he was 3 months old, they decided to do stomach surgery because he was having some issues. And he also had what's called failure to thrive, which means he wasn't gaining weight, partially because his heart was working so hard and he kept getting reoccurring sicknesses back to back to back. And so then we decided that he needed open heart surgery. And so from the time he was 3 months old until he was 6 months old in March of 2014, we were in isolation in our house. And it was in that moment where I decided I was going all in with this business. I refused to go back to teaching. Beachbody was no longer a plan B for me. It was a plan A, and I needed to go all in. And I did. And so he had open heart surgery in March of 2014. And as you guys can see, he is growing and thriving. And he still has several things that we watch every year that could potentially need surgery later on. But it was really that sparked this idea of where this business could take our family. And I always say God aligns things for a reason, because the minute I made that decision, the minute we decided to go all in, he had surgery March 4th, and we found out we were pregnant with our third son April 1st. So they are 13 and a half months apart, these two right here. And so I had to learn to work my business in the cracks of life, because he spent, and still does, spend a lot of time in the hospital, especially during those younger years. He had a lot of speech therapy, occupational therapy, food therapy, and all of those things. And then obviously being pregnant, I didn't suffer from anything during the time he was going through all of that, but afterwards I did have some PTSD and postpartum, rightfully so, given everything that we'd been through. And then to find out we were pregnant again, I told my husband, I'm like, I was home all of like 5 days in the last 6 months. I don't even know how that's possible. Obviously I do, but it's just kind of a joke that we tell, because I was never home, because we lived in the hospital. And so, having 2 kids within 13 and a half months of each other meant that my personal journey was just that. So I had gained about, by the time it was all said and done, 88 pounds between those 2 pregnancies. And so over the course of the next, I wish I would have put the picture in here too. Over the course of the next 18 months, I ended up losing over 120 and competed in the Beachbody Classic in the summer of 2016. And it was one of my most favorite moments, because it was just a way for me to do something for me and, know that obviously our programs work, our products work, and just taking people on that journey with us. And so fast forward, I retired from teaching that year and matched my teacher salary in 2014 so that I could stay home with the kids, and then built my business in the cracks of life. And I'm going to share some more of the obstacles over the next couple of years because it's pertinent to my business and kind of how it's grown. But that's basically the gist of it. And now here we are 7.5 years later with an added little boy and our angel baby, Maya, and then obviously our daughter coming next week. And so, life can be tough and life can throw a lot of things at you. And this business has been a vehicle to not only allow me to be present, but to help financially with my family, to give me an outlet. But it's also changed over 7.5 years. What worked for my business in the very beginning when I decided to go all in doesn't necessarily work right now when life hits the fan. And so It's all about evolving and learning what works for you. And so some of the things that I'm going to give a little tough love, my coaches know like this is kind of one of my things, is I give a little tough love because there are times and things that you are going to face in this business. You are going to want to quit at some point in time. You're going to question whether or not this business is for you and whether you're being seen, whether you're heard, whether you're effective. You're going to question your leadership skills. People are going to quit. They're going to leave. They're not going to tell you. They're going to say things behind your back. You're going to have haters. You're going to miss goals. No matter how hard we try not to, there are going to be times where something happens, something falls through, or you just miss a goal completely. Life is going to throw you curveballs. You're going to struggle. It's not a matter of if you're going to struggle. It's just a matter of when. And it could be anything and everything. I have coaches on my team whose kids have gone through cancer. They've lost a spouse. They've lost a parent. And it doesn't have to be something super traumatic, but the reality is we all have struggles. We all have challenges. And so how do you make this business work in those pockets of life? How are you going to respond when, things aren't going the way that you want them to go? And so, like I said, some of the obstacles that we faced over the last 7.5 years. We've been pregnant 6 times now. We had 2 kids within 13.5 months of each other, which is a struggle in itself. And then also trying to work on me, it was like having twins. I missed elite 1 year by literally 1 point, like not a coach, not just literally 1 point. My husband lost his job in 2016, which meant we had to solely rely on my income for several months. I had business partners that left me in the beginning of 2017 after we had a record year. And I don't just mean like coaches who were like discount coaches. I mean like rock star coaches that were like my best friends left with no warning, without saying anything, for another company. We were pregnant with our daughter in 2017. And we lost her at 16 weeks. And it was pretty traumatic because my body wasn't responding, that anything was wrong. And so I had to deliver her and had complications and ended up having an emergency blood transfusion and literally almost died. And then we had our rainbow baby last year. And now obviously we are pregnant with our last child this year. So a lot has happened in our family, but the one thing that's remained constant, the one thing that has kept me going is the mission that we have. Like, not only has the community rallied around me in all of this, but having something for myself in all of this that I could pour into, that gives me hope, that gives me a passion, that gives me a mission to help others, has literally at times the thing that's been like kept me going the most. The month after we lost our daughter was one of my best months ever. And not because of anything that I was doing, but it was because I had something to lean into to help me process through my grief. I had a community of women who understood and were right there alongside of me. And so, when life happens, what do you do? How do you stay focused on your goal? Well, one of the things that I learned early on was to stay tied to your why. And I know you guys hear it all the time, like your why is so important. But the thing that I didn't realize is that your why is going to change. My why when I started this business 7.5 years ago is nowhere near what it is right now. It's, back then it was, I needed an extra income to get us out of the debt we were in. And then it was, I want to stay home with my kids. So how do I, financially prepare for that and support our family? And it is constantly evolving or changing. Another thing a tip that I've really learned is to write down your goals. And your goals are going to change for different seasons of life. So I know that me pushing for certain goals at the end of the year with a newborn is probably not going to be the best for me and my stress level. So I had to re-envision what the end of my year would look like. If you're an empty nester and your kids have left, your goals are going to look different. If my kids are in school and I have more time to devote, I had to look at what were the things that were most important to me, my priorities, and what I wanted out of that season of life. And so right now, this season is being present with my kids. They're only going to be home with me for a couple years. And having a 12-year-old that's now in middle school, I realized how fast that goes, because it was just yesterday that he was going into kindergarten. And so I can spend all the time in the world and all the time working, but if I'm not honoring my priorities and what are the most important for me right now in this season of life, then what is it all for? And so I had to look at, do my goals align with where I'm at in this season of life? But not only do they align with my season of life and my priorities, what can I accomplish in this season of life? I know that during the day right now, my days are completely hectic. 3 years ago, I had a lot more time in the afternoon when the kids were on the same schedule. And it's the purple one in there. Just take one. Sorry, y'all. I know that I don't have that many hours. Like I used to have 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon when the kids were on the same nap schedule, when there was only 2 at home. My oldest was in school. I had a lot more time to devote. Now, if I try and put an important task in the middle of the afternoon, y'all, it looks like a freaking show, because there's just not the season of life that we're in. So I know for me, that looks like right now, getting up in between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning so that I can get my daily non-negotiables done. And so in this season of life for me, it's what are the things that I have to get done? And there's 3 to 4 things that each of us have in our business, and they're all different depending on where you're at. But what are the 3 to 4 things that I have right now to do to move my business forward? Those are the things that I put first and foremost in the morning. And even still, it's not going to go always the way that I think it's going to go because of the season of life that I'm in. So I have to be really intentional about scheduling my business, learning when to say no to things. No, it's a purple bottle. It's in the front basket. Learning when to say no to things to honor my priorities, my and what I need to get accomplished, and then also my priorities for my family. Another one of the big things that's really helped my business over the years, and when life happens, is to personalize your personal development. How many of y'all are guilty of reading what everyone else is reading because you see they're posting about it, you see that another coach is reading this book and it's really good, but it doesn't necessarily go along with what you personally need right now in your life? I love to read. So I will create an entire wish list of Amazon books, or order 5 books at a time because I see this coach is reading that book and this coach is reading this book, and oh my gosh, this one looks really good. And I'll start reading them and I'll fall off my personal development because it's not what I need in this season of life. And so personalize your personal development for what you need. If I'm struggling with, postpartum or comparing, that's fine, just take 2. Or the comparison game, or, just my own limiting beliefs, I'm not going to go read Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, or, what's another one that's more business related? High Performing Habits. That's not going to give me what I need right now in this season. And so it's all about personalizing your personal development to bed. Sorry, y'all, my 12-year-old likes to push the limits. Lean in and don't retreat. And this is a tough one, because when we start to go through things in life, what is the easiest thing to do? Pull back, isolate ourselves, go through it on our own, not really talk about what's going on. How many of y'all have ghosted your coach at some point in time, anytime, not answered or responded to a message because you had your own stuff going on and you just didn't feel like talking to anyone or doing your invites or whatever, because that's the easiest thing to do. And so what would happen if you leaned into your team, if you leaned into this community? Maybe you have a success partner that's cross-teamed or on another team, or like Brooke and I have connected in the mastermind group, or leaning in those moments and knowing your triggers and when things are going to come up is huge. And it's been key for me. I have a core group of coaches, and they're not even on the same team as me, but we will regularly check in on each other to see how we're doing, to see what's going on in life, because that's what this community is all about. And we all thrive off of community, especially when we're going through things or facing obstacles. visualize reminders. And what I mean by that is, so I have, oops, sorry, y'all. It just double screened me. I have visual reminders in my bathroom. So I have a whiteboard in my bathroom of not only my daily non-negotiables, but also either a vision statement or something that keeps me going. I also have a lot of things written behind me on my whiteboards that I constantly see. I have another whiteboard in front of me that I constantly look at. And so having those visual reminders so that when we see them, we know, hey, it could be a word, it could be something that's inspiring to you. I always put my 3 to 4 daily non-negotiables on there so that when I'm walking to the bathroom or when I'm trying to go to bed and I haven't done what I needed to do for a day, that's a reminder to me that I need to get it done because this business is important to me and it's important to my family. Believe in yourself and what you want out of life and claim it. I used to think this stuff was a load of crap, y'all. I was the one who thought affirmations was stupid. I didn't believe in them. I thought, I'm like, who stands there and really says stuff in the mirror and like believes it? But I took last year because like I said, every business is going to have its peaks and valleys. And I went through 2 years of valley season in my business, not only personally, but business-wise as well. You know, I told Brooke, I am a Success Club legend, which means I was in Success Club for, I believe it was a total of 42 months, and then I missed it for 1 month. After 46 months in a row, I missed Success Club, and I could have easily let that defeat me and given up and said, oh, well, I'm not worth anything. Same thing the year that we missed Elite by a point. And I could have said, you know, it's over and done with. I'm not worth anything. This business doesn't matter. But I didn't. Does it mean that you're going to hit every goal that you set? No, but we have a choice of how we're going to respond to it. How are you going to overcome that? Everybody loves a comeback kid. Everybody. And it doesn't matter how long the comeback takes. Point is that you're never giving up. You're constantly going in. And so if you're sitting there and you're like, business has just been hard for me and it hasn't gone where I wanted it to go, and it's taking me longer than Susie next to me, who has been a coach for 2 weeks or 5 months and is already like a 3-star diamond, and she's already made Elite for the year, and I'm sitting here like been pushing for diamond for, you know, a year and a half, and I'm still not where I need to be. It's okay. It's your journey. You're going to go through it, and you have a choice every single day to get up and show up, because it matters to you, no matter how long it takes. Is 5 years worth it? I'm still nowhere near some of the goals that I set for myself 7.5 years ago, but I refuse to give up, and I still write them down, and I still look at them every single day. And so every year at the beginning of the year, I'll go back and look at what are the things that I set for myself? What are the things I'm still working on? Have I gotten any closer to those? No. What can I change? What can I do different? And so this year, one of those was I started writing daily affirmations. And literally since December 27th of 2018, I've been writing daily affirmations. And those have evolved over the last year. But in those moments of tough times this year, they have helped me remember who I am, what I'm doing, what I want out of life, and kept me going. But I believe it. And that no matter how long it takes, I know that I am going to continue to show up each and every day because it matters to me. And so in those hard moments, and know that you're going to have them, and it could be, for someone else, it could be a month is a hard moment. Someone else could be 3 years. Is it worth 3 years of your time now to be successful in 5 years? Like, think of, you know, the businesses that you go out here and in brick and mortar businesses, like it takes them at least 5 years, most of them, to really start seeing a high profit and being successful. So is being in this business for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or 10 years worth it for you? And then grace is a word. I do a word of the year every year. And I take some time in December and just kind of pray on it and ask God to show me what he has for the next year. And this word has been a word for like the last 3 years that has always come up, because I'm a type A perfectionist, red personality. And I may thrive on schedules and routines. And let's face it, with 6 kids, those schedules and routines, I can try as hard as I want all day long, are not always going to go the way I think that they need to go or should go. And so I have to learn to give myself grace, especially in this young mom season of life, young baby season of life. And because there's no telling what could happen. I set my alarm every day for 4:15, and it never fails that by 4:30, 4:45, 5:15, at least one of them is up. And so if I could get bent out of shape and spend all day that I didn't get what I needed to get done in that first hour, or I could figure out a way to be flexible and figure out when I'm going to fit in. And then keep trying to find what works for you. So like I said, having been in this business for 7.5 years, I've tried and done a lot of things. You don't always have to do what your sister next to you is doing. Find what works for you. Find what tracking system works for you. Find what business schedule works for you. Find what conversations and messaging and works for you. It doesn't have to look like the person next to you. And, try it. If it doesn't work, try something different. Like, you're not stuck in the same thing, doing the same thing over and over. If you've been doing something for 3 to 4 months consistently, and it's not working, then don't be afraid to try something else and get outside of your comfort zone. And then the last thing was just a little bit of inspiration. This was a post I shared last week, and I thought it fit in so well, and it was a lot longer, but I cut it down. But, you guys you're going to want to quit at some point in time in this business. Something's going to happen. Your back's going to be against the wall. Life's going to throw you all the things. You're going to want to throw in the towel. Some days are easier than not. But remember why you started. Remember where you'd plan to go, and don't you dare quit on yourself and who you want to become. Don't look back on yesterday with regret of what it would be like if you hadn't quit. Instead, look back on yesterday and be proud that the moment when you wanted to quit, you didn't, because that's when you win. And that's what is important. We all know what it feels like to give up. And so I want you guys to see what it looks like when you don't. And that's all I got.
I love it. Thank you. Even just being here and just talking for the past, 30 minutes, because I was just in your shoes. I appreciate it, but I can't even imagine that you're doing. I was like I was out of breath. I was exhausted. So thank you for being, thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing. I took a bunch of notes. I'm a perfectionist too. I'm so type A. I'm the exact same way. And so, being in the same season of life, and now, I was into a great routine with having just my 3.5-year-old. And so now bringing in a newborn, it's like there is no schedule. There is no routine right now. Like, we'll get to that place, but I'm learning to just, like you said, give yourself grace and just kind of make it work when I can, and just know that what I do every day has to be enough for now. And, we'll get into a routine again down the road. So I really like the idea of the 3 to 4 things. Like, if I get nothing else done today, what are like 3 or 4 things that I'm going to do today? And I really like the visualization. Like you said, I've heard that before, but hearing it again, and I don't know, just kind of being in this place that I kind of feel like I needed to hear it again, and like a reminder that that's something I think that would be really helpful for me. Do you guys have any questions for Monica? I know there has to be.
Oh my gosh, I just saw there was I was reading the comments too. Sending love and prayers. I have such a soft spot in my heart for my CHD babies. And so I actually just spent, because our daughter potentially, I totally forgot to leave that out as another obstacle. Our daughter potentially has heart issues as well. And so we won't know until she gets here whether or not surgery is going to be required, but it's something that we're monitoring. So my heart babies are always near and dear to my heart.
You have been through so much. That's crazy.
I look at it as I've learned, I've grown, but it's God's strength and his direction. And I wouldn't be here without all of that, because there's no way I would have gotten through all of those things without my faith and standing on that.
Yeah. That's incredible. I'm reading through the chat too. Love it. Do you guys have any questions? This is when everybody gets quiet. You are a 3-star diamond, and I know a lot of people are always wondering about like your, when people are bringing on new coaches, and so you clearly have at least 3 awesome leaders. Like, do you have any tips or ideas or suggestions, or what is your process for onboarding new coaches?
So I spend a lot of one-on-one time in the beginning. And again, this process has changed and evolved over the years, just because what I did back in the day doesn't necessarily work now. And so we just started doing the phase 1. I don't remember who spoke on the National Wake Up Call just a couple months ago. It was like back in August or September. I feel like it may have been Jamie Fitzpatrick.
Whoa.
It might have been. Yeah. Oh, no, it was Rob Pearson. That's who it was. And they do a phase 1 leadership group where we get them in. It's 15 days. They read Slide Edge, and we walk through. It's very simple. We use the BAT tracker. And Slide Edge, and it's really action oriented. So instead of spending a lot of time on training videos and bogged down with so much information, we really get into action oriented steps to move their business forward. And that has been working really well for us. I take that, plus I do message pods with my coaches, my working coaches, to help. And I'll be honest, right now, 2 of my diamonds are my second business center and my husband. And so it's been what I've built, because the diamonds that I had in the beginning were coaches that decided to take on another opportunity. And so I had to navigate that course and rebuild my business. And so I went through that season of change and rebuilding. And so for me, it's really touch points, getting them action-oriented steps and not bogged down with a lot of information, because we all know what it's like as a new coach. Those first couple months is like, keeping your head above water with all the different things that are being thrown at you. And so simplifying the process as simple as possible, and then really walking with them. I had to change my style of leadership. I'm very much a mama bear. And so in the beginning, I didn't have, totally left out this part too, the first 5 years of my business, I didn't have an upline. My upline signed me up, and within 3 months was gone from the business, still had a business and had a couple of successful coaches under her, but wasn't working the business. And so I built the business for the first 4.5 years on my own with no leadership, because she was disconnected from her upline. And so I did all of the things on my own until I got moved up. And so it was really a lot of trial and error figuring out what works. So in the beginning, I was very much a mama bear, and then I wanted to do all the things for my coaches so that they never had to struggle and they never had to, come into any sort of objections or complications or figure things out for themselves. I just wanted to give them anything and everything possible. Clearly that didn't work. It worked for some, but for a lot it didn't. And because I realized the reason why I was so successful was because I failed forward. I went out there. I am a learner and a researcher. I don't need to wait around for anyone to tell me how to do something. I'm going to go YouTube, Google, ask any coach that will give me an answer, research any other thing possible that I can to figure out how I can make things work. And so teaching my coaches to be resourceful from the very beginning has also helped change my business over the years, because I was giving them so much that they relied a lot heavily on me to figure things out. And so when I finally released that, it changed things and they became leaders themselves. Right. So that's really helped.
Yeah. Love that. That's a good point. Christina asked about your favorite PDs that you recommend.
Oh, Lord. Well, I have a whole library of, I don't really, let's see, my favorite, 5 a.m. Club. Read that within like a week and a half this year. My absolute, like, literally, that was in a hard season of life this year, changed my life. And it was kind of when I'd got out of my morning routine.
I was going to say, is it about, I've never heard of it. Is it about like
Yeah.
at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, but that's why I didn't read it. Because I was like, I'm a morning person, which my morning routine had like been more like 6 at the time. But I've always been a morning person, and I know how important mornings are. So I was like, I'm not reading that book. I know everything I read Miracle Morning. I love morning time because it's just like my quiet time. I read that book. I literally, like, it looks like I went to college. It looks like I went to college because it was so good. And I was like, why did I not read this sooner? Let's see what else. Magic of Thinking Big is always one of my good ones. Grace, Not Perfection is more like geared towards, obviously, lots of grace. Present over Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Atomic Habits was really good. I also read that about the same time as I read 5 a.m. Club this year. Anything John Maxwell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kelsey said Amazon priming it right now.
Yeah. Legit, y'all. Like, I literally was like, this is like, I've read a ton of personal development books in 7.5 years, but I was like texting my dad, like, Dad, you need to order this book. You need to read it. I'd made my sister read it. I'm like, y'all need to order this, because I was literally like, it's so crazy to me. I know how important mornings are, but the way he writes and the way he tells a story, it's not like I'll preface this by saying it's not like your normal personal development book. It's personal development, but he also somehow changes it into that you just can't stop reading. And you're like, I just want to find out what happens. I want to know more. Like, but he's aligning it with person. It's so crazy. And he has an app that you can use too that helps track your morning time as well. So yeah, it was like the best book ever of 2019.
Awesome.
So,
now I have to read it.
right. Exactly.
Cool. Perfect. I love it. All right. Any other questions, guys? All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us, and
You're
especially
welcome.
considering everything you are
I mean, it's just another day in the life, right?
I love it.
I feel like you were like weren't you like 36 weeks pregnant or something?
If it was September, yeah, I must have been like 36, 37, maybe. Yeah.
I'm like, it was right about the same. I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like, I feel like she was just right about the same time.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, hey, and y'all know tomorrow is a full moon, so listen,
Mm-hmm.
let's pray this child decides to grace us with her presence.
All right. Well, thank you ladies for hopping on. Thank you, Monica, for taking the time, and I'll get the recording uploaded as soon as possible. Okay. Oh, let's take a picture.
Oh, where'd my phone go? Oh, it's right here.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Have a good rest of your night.